All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. And I just want to see if people can see and hear me. If you can see and hear me, can you please type in the chat window your name and where you're calling from? Welcome, guys. Welcome to the Seven Figure Seller Summit All Access Pass live Q&A webinar. I see that there's some viewers here. If you can see and hear me, could you please type your name and where you're viewing from in the chat window? And meanwhile, I'd just like to welcome everyone back. It's been a couple of weeks since the Seven Figure Seller Summit. I hope you guys have had the chance to watch and catch up on the sessions, and also take a look at the bonus area. We have some action guides that you guys can use to quickly implement some of these strategies. And I've been implementing several of these strategies myself, and focusing on growing my businesses as well. So, so right now, let me see if you guys can type in the chat window your name and where you're calling from. Okay, hello, Greg from New Zealand. Welcome. And so there's a little delay here, so I apologize for that. But it's great that everyone's able to view from all over the world. So if anyone else can type in the chat window, and meanwhile, I'm going to, hello, Donna from Seattle. Welcome, Donna. It's good to see you. And just one second. And Max from Australia, and Karen from New Zealand. Awesome. Thank you for joining us, guys. Excellent. Okay. So before we begin, I'm just curious. So after having a chance to view all the sessions, which session was your favorite? Can you guys type that in the chat window? I'm just curious. And then, so just to refresh your memory, we had 5 phases. So phase 1 was the mindset, and then we also had scaling your business, marketing, profitability, and also building out your team. And then lately, I've been working on scaling my business. Like one of the keys that I found was very important was focusing on product development and putting 80% of your efforts on that. So especially as we're going into the fourth quarter, with the holiday shopping season, that's like a tremendous opportunity coming up. So for my business personally, I've been working more on adding new products. So I'm curious for you guys, which was your favorite session so far? Just one second. So there's a slight delay here. I'm just going to open up the YouTube window. Just one second. I'm going to open up the YouTube link on my phone. Okay. Donna, that's great. So the scaling sessions were your favorite. Excellent. Any particular sessions? Any particular sessions? Okay. So we are live. Please bear with me if there's any particular sessions. Yeah. Just one second. Okay. So I'm just opening up a new chat window on my phone. Okay. All right. So Karen. Excellent. Okay. So scaling it seems to be a favorite among some of you guys, which is great. And then next, I'm curious, what is the #1 challenge you're facing right now with your business? Just so I have a better understanding where everybody is. If you can type that into the chat window, please. And just to share, my #1 challenge is just time. just trying to juggle, like my own private label business, and then, with the other work, with the 7-Figure Seller Summit. And as some of you guys know, I run a site called 80/20 Sourcing. And so I'm running that as well, in addition with just family commitments, just trying to balance everything. But such is the life of an entrepreneur, trying to find that, the work-life balance. But I'm curious, what are some challenges? What's the number one challenge that you guys are facing right now in your business? And then just for me personally, like looking at the fourth quarter, one important thing, like one challenge that I see a lot of sellers face is just managing their orders going into the fourth quarter, but also Chinese New Year after that. Because as you guys probably know, most people sourcing from China will experience their factories will shut down. They'll close for Chinese New Year in about February. So if you don't place an order that ships out before then, you'll be left out in the cold until the factory, they shut down for a month until they come back in March. So even though we're in early September now, the smart sellers, what they'll do is plan ahead. Like, we have, from September until the end of the year, but also January and February. So smart sellers will place their Q4 order right now. So it delivers and it lands before Cyber Monday and Black Friday. And then following that, you have to plan your next order to ship out before Chinese New Year. So I highly recommend, if you guys haven't done this already, to plan that out. Like both your order for Q4, like hopefully you've already placed that order, but also in anticipation before Chinese New Year, I highly recommend you place that order no later than Thanksgiving. For those of you guys outside the US, that would be the late November time period. So placing your next order before that. Okay, just a quick tip I wanted to share with you guys, because I know most of you guys are sourcing from China. Okay, and then Karen says she agrees that life balance is tricky, and she's trying to cover too much to catch up after having personal distractions. Yeah, I mean, same for me. For personal distractions, as some of you guys know, my wife and I, we have a baby on the way. And then just for me, I normally work from home. So I try to also help out with some of the cooking. That's one of my passions, but just trying to balance that work-life balance. I try to have keep a regular schedule. I find that that's helpful for me, just in terms of the work-life balance. Okay, so that's one point from Karen. Okay, so what are some other challenges that you guys are facing? And don't be shy. I mean, we're just among friends here, so don't be shy. I really hope that we can be open and we can help each other. That's how we can make the most out of our session together today with a webinar. So besides the fourth quarter, I think another challenge that I'm facing with my business is cash flow. I don't know if anyone is facing any challenges from cash flow. Can you type yes in the chat window with cash flow? Because this is, cash flow is like the lifeblood of your business. And then, I remember, in some of our sessions, like with KJ Robinson, for example, after he got his product featured on Oprah Winfrey, and he sold out 20,000 units overnight, which is fantastic. But now they're expecting more and more products, right? So he literally had to place like bigger and bigger orders. So like, where's that money coming from, right? I mean, that cash flow is like super important as an entrepreneur, right? So I found that this cash flow, like there's many ways to do this. I mean, from the Chinese supplier side, when dealing with Chinese suppliers, you can negotiate payment terms. So rather than paying 50 50/50 or 30/70, over time, you can negotiate better payment terms. So, for example, with one of our suppliers, we only pay 20% advance and 80% after the shipment goes out, about 2 weeks after. Right. So this will help free up your cash flow. That's one way I've discovered. And then I remember KJ shared with me that he literally, before he went to the bank, he talked to friends and family. Right. So like friends and family, like he asked his mom, for a loan, like a personal loan. And, obviously you want to be careful with, loaning from family and friends. But with that's another method that you can generate cash flow, like loans from family and friends. And for those of you guys selling on Amazon, Amazon also has an Amazon lending program. I believe it's mainly tailored for US sellers. So over time, after you build a track record with Amazon, you can actually take out a loan from Amazon. And then if you agree to that, they'll just send you the money. So that will help you with your cash flow as you're placing orders. And Donna asks, I'm curious to know if you've used the Profit First method to help with money management. As a matter of fact, I just read that book recently, and then this is something I'm looking to test and implement. And Donna, if you've used that, can you share a little bit about how that method is working out for you with the Profit First method? So for those of you guys that haven't heard of this, this is by an entrepreneur. I forget his name, Mike. I forget his last name. It's a really long last name. If anybody can refresh my memory, but basically, his main message is that you should kind of, not just pay yourself first, but with the revenue that comes in, you should divide it into like different buckets. So like when the money comes into your bank, you shouldn't just keep that lump sum under one account. Rather, it's kind of like, like the old fashioned method, like maybe your grandma had like 5 different envelopes, like one envelope for rent, one envelope for, groceries, one for, I don't know, like savings and, like taxes, right? So he advocates that you should separate your revenue into these different separate bank accounts. Like he actually, if I remember correctly, he recommends that you have at least 5 bank accounts. And then once your money like from sales revenue comes in, you separate them into these 5 accounts. So this way you don't overspend from one category to another. So for example, you like every month you would put like 25% into like the tax and expenses account, and then you just leave it there. You don't touch that. And then for profits, it could be like, for example, like 10%. So all of your sales, like 10% will be allotted into profits. So that's the strategy called Profit First. It's something that I've read, but for me, just one challenge is just opening up those 5 bank accounts. It can be a struggle, especially if you're an expat or someone that's living overseas, just having to deal with foreign bank accounts. And then Donna says that she's using it now. It is helping me grow organically without jumping in too deep. I love it, but it needs a few tweaks to work with Amazon. Okay, so it sounds like it is helping you grow organically. I had an idea to possibly invite the author of Profit First for maybe one of our future summits. I don't know. Would that be interesting to some of you guys? And then Donna said it took hours at the bank to set up the account, but it's great. Okay, so I mean, it does take some time to get set up, but it sounds like it's working out well for Donna. Okay, so that's one thing, dealing with cash flow, especially in the fourth quarter, because you want to make sure you don't run out of inventory, right? I mean, fourth quarter, like sales will grow. It could be like 50% more sales during Q4 than the rest of the year. So you really have to plan ahead that you got to have enough inventory in stock, right? Okay, so Greg says sure. So this could be an interesting topic in the future for us, talking about Profit First. Okay, so cash flow, that's one challenge. What are some other challenges that you guys are facing? And then if you have any other suggestions for topics you like to learn more about or speakers you like to learn from, please feel free. Please let me know. I always try to address our our membership and our community in terms of helping that out. So for me, I think with the first summit, I mean, I feel like we covered a lot, like with the 5 phases, but there's so much more when it comes to e-commerce and when it comes to entrepreneurship, right? So I'm just curious, like, what else would you like to learn about in terms of different topics with building your e-commerce business? Okay, Donna's looking for the next level of business coach. Donna, can you share with us a little bit about where you are with your business right now? Like, are you, like, for example, are you a 6-figure seller, or are you someone that's more getting started, or maybe you're a 7-figure seller? Can you just help us get a better feel for where you are right now? And then meanwhile, just looking at the calendar. So Donna's at 6 figures right now, hoping to hit 7 figures soon. Great. And then in terms of the next level of business coach, like what's the number one thing that you like to work with the coach? And then while we're waiting for that, just one suggestion for those of you guys that are planning to visit China, possibly for Canton Fair in October. I highly recommend the Global Sources Summit happening in Hong Kong at the same time as the Canton Fair. And I'm not just saying that because they're sponsoring us, but I've personally visited the Global Sources Summit about 3-4 times. And every time I go, I just find like I meet a lot of motivated e-commerce sellers, entrepreneurs, not just the speakers, but also the other people that go there. Because I find that, people that are willing to make that investment, like, traveling all the way to China and then going to Canton Fair and attending a conference like this is kind of like a natural filter. It's kind of like, these people are really committed to building their business. So I've made some really great friendships, not just in terms of business, but also, personal friendships based on this. So if you guys get the chance, I highly recommend it. And I'm curious, is anybody going to Canton Fair in October? If you are, can you type yes in the chat window? Is anybody going to Canton Fair in October? So for those of you guys that may not be familiar, Canton Fair is probably the world's biggest trade show. It happens in China twice a year, in April and October. And literally there's, you could wander the convention halls for days. I mean, there's probably thousands of different suppliers. And then there's 3 phases of the fair. So depending on which niche you're in, there's a different phase for like office stationery, for home and kitchen, and for like construction materials. And it's a way that you can quickly meet with suppliers, face to face. So if you do get a chance, I think it's a great opportunity. And for those of you guys that are going, I always say you should make the most out of your trip. You shouldn't just go to the fair and then that's it, hop on a plane and go back home. I always find that if I can get a chance to visit a factory, like set up a meeting with somebody I either meet at the fair or possibly, one of my current suppliers, just going to the factory, it builds a lot of relationships. It builds a lot of, in China, what they call guanxi. And then that helps a lot with building the business and building trust together. Because you'll learn a lot more just meeting them face to face. And then in addition, when you go to the factory, you'll see like how the sausage is made, right? I mean, you'll see like all the different equipment, you'll see like the different samples and what like how exactly things are going. And then sometimes, what is really difficult to explain, maybe you have that nagging problem that you're going back and forth like email hockey over. Once you go in person, it really helps to explain and to figure out a solution. And, I personally, I'm fortunate. I'm based in Shanghai, so I can hop on a train and visit a factory in just about like an hour and a half or 2 hours. And then, there was a product defect in one of my kitchen products. And I was able to, sit down with the owner. We looked at the different products, what was wrong with it. And then he was able to come up with a solution. And then he literally like walked me over to the production line, like to the machine, and then to see how he was going to fix that problem. I mean, that just something like that is priceless. If you think of, how much, how many like negative reviews you can mitigate, you can eliminate just by, going face to face. Obviously, not everybody has the wherewithal to be able to do something like that. But if you are going to Canton Fair in October, I highly recommend that you try to visit a factory as well. And then if you have a chance to stop over in Hong Kong to go to the Global Sources Summit, several of our speakers that from the 7-Figure Seller Summit, they're speaking in person at Global Sources Summit as well. So you may get a chance to meet with Bernie Thompson, KJ Robinson, and I think there's a couple others that are going to be there as well. So I highly recommend it if you guys are going to Canton Fair. So Donna says that, okay, cool. So you just finished coaching with Sophie Howard. So looking for a long-term coach, business strategy, mindset. Okay, so you're about 5 figures, hoping to be 6 figures soon. Okay, that's great. That's great. Yeah, so looking for a long-term coach, I offer coaching services as well. If anyone that's interested, I offer one-to-one coaching and helping with scaling your business and helping with product, starting from product selection to sourcing, dealing with negotiations, quality control, and making modifications. Because I find that as what we learned in the 7-Figure Seller Summit, you can't just sell a Me Too product and expect to be successful, because there's way too many competitors now. You have to do deep customer research to identify what exactly are the improvements that customers are looking for. This way you can really separate yourself from your competitors. So I do work with a small group of coaching students, and if you are interested, you can apply for my coaching as well. But I mean, no pressure. But I'm offering this service for those of you guys that may need some more one-on-one, like personalized help. And for that, you can visit www.8020sourcing.com/coaching. I just want to make sure I have that URL, if that's correct. Okay. So, I mean, coaching, it definitely, it helps. Like even for me personally, like I have a coach as well, just to help me, look around corners, as I am, scaling my business as well, both on 80/20 sourcing and 7-Figure Seller Summit, as well as with my private label products. I feel like obviously the best investment that you can make is in yourself. So I find that, that definitely can help you break through some of the obstacles. Okay. So, yeah, so I feel like with, right now we're going into the fourth quarter. I'm curious, what are you guys doing to prepare with your businesses going into Q4? Like, are you, preparing more inventory? Are you, placing larger orders? Or are you maybe ramping up your PPC? Are you like, doubling down on more marketing or advertising? Or possibly maybe you're building a team? Are you like hiring? Are you, maybe you're, hiring a virtual assistant? I'm curious, what are you guys doing to prepare for Q4? Because I feel like, a lot of times people are caught off guard. Like before you know it, it's Thanksgiving. You're like, oh, I'm running out of stock. And then especially after that with Chinese New Year as well. A lot of people are off guard. So you really have to plan ahead. I find that that's another factor of success that that successful sellers do to ensure they have a great Q4. So let me see. And then other than that, I'm just curious. I see several people in New Zealand. I really love New Zealand. I had a chance to visit about a year and a half ago. It's a beautiful country. And then here in China, a lot of the products that we use, like dairy and milk, it's imported from New Zealand because you guys have a beautiful country. And I think it's like one of the most beautiful places on earth. But I'm curious with your businesses, are you selling, like which markets are you mainly selling into? Are you selling into the US market or EU, or which marketplaces are you guys selling into? And then I see Karen. Karen is just beginning, so trying to do as much learning as I can at this stage, which is great. So Karen, what is the next step for you? Like, what are you going to do to move forward? Are you still in the product selection phase, or are you in the sourcing phase? Can you share with us a little bit more about where you are? And then meanwhile, Karen's been working with Sophie Howard's coaching as well. Excellent. Excellent. So what will you do next, Karen? I'm just curious. Let's hold each other accountable here. Like, what is the next step that you're gonna take? Excellent. Karen, you just ordered your first products. Okay, great. And after that, are you have you prepared the product listing? Are you what are you doing to prepare your launch? Like, where are you right now? That's excellent. Karen's already ordered her first products. That's one of the most exciting times of your business, I find. I remember when I ordered my first shipment. You're a little nervous, but you're super excited at the same time. But no matter what, it's a really great learning experience because once you have this system down, I mean, learning how to identify profitable products, learning how to sell on Amazon, identify go through the customer reviews, market research. Like, this is a skill set that's super valuable. You can take this, you can apply it in many ways, not just selling on Amazon. I mean, like, for example, I remember Vance, his session, about crowdfunding and Kickstarter. A lot of people that launch on Kickstarter, they don't have the skill set that Amazon sellers have in terms of looking at customer reviews, customer pain points, and then you can really take what you learned selling on Amazon, you can apply it to launching a Kickstarter. And this is something that I'm actually doing, that I'm planning in the next couple months as well. So I was looking to add a new product in the kitchen category, but I found that there was basically all the products on the market in this niche, they were all Me Too products. And I wanted to improve upon it, but I noticed that to do that, I would have to open up a new mold or like a tooling, which would cost several $1,000s, probably along with the design, probably in the $5,000 range. So I'm actually looking to pivot rather than launch on Amazon to go to Kickstarter. So, taking, what I know about, product selection, product research, what sort of improvements customers are looking for, I'm pivoting that to Kickstarter. So I feel like, no matter what, like, once you learn this, it's a super valuable skill to have that you can use in many ways. Okay, so Karen says, my Chinese supplier has been very helpful. So I plan to order more products from the same supplier to build my niche brand. And I got my brand logo and webpage now. So it's been several months due to family personal interruptions. So I feel like I'm finally making headway. Excellent. So Karen has already taken action. Congratulations, Karen. You already have placed your order and you have your logo and webpage now. Excellent. And are you planning to sell on Amazon or are you planning to sell on your webpage? I'm just curious. And then, family personal interruptions. I mean, that's life as an entrepreneur. I feel like a lot of us, especially me included, one of the reasons why we wanted to, do our own e-commerce business is so that we don't have to be chained to our cubicle. We don't have to deal with the commute every day, 9 to 5. We can spend more time with our family, right? I mean, I really enjoy the time that, I can spend with my wife. In the mornings, we can go on a walk together, before I start my day. So I find that that's one of the most, meaningful things that, that I can get out of, when I have my own e-commerce business. And it's great that, that we can deal with it. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword as well, because if you are working at home, if you have a home office, I try to have some separation. For example, right now sitting in my home office, this is kind of I try to close the door so that I'm not interrupted by, maybe TV, or if there's a delivery man, etc. I try to separate that space. It helps me work more efficiently and effectively when it comes to, dealing with personal and family interruptions. Okay. All right. So Karen says no Amazon. Okay, great. So Karen is selling on her website. All right. That's great. So Karen, any questions? Any what's the main challenge that you're dealing with right now? So it sounds like you've already placed your first order. Your supplier has been pretty helpful. One of the great ways that people scale their business is they can take more products from their current supplier. I mean, provided the supplier is good, they're trustworthy, you have a good relationship with them, you can add additional products based on your supplier. Because the cool part about this is that you don't have to reinvent the wheel, right? You don't have to, go back to Alibaba. You don't have to go sift through all of those listings and, email hockey, right? You can just immediately ask them, hey, what are some other products that you're manufacturing? Because a lot of times, suppliers, Chinese suppliers, they're not that proactive. I mean, I hate to generalize, but many times they're very reactive. Only when you ask do they reply to you. So they could be sitting on some other potential products that you're not aware of. So you really have to ask them. Okay, I find that that's one of the best practices dealing with Chinese suppliers. Ask them, can you send us your product catalog? What new products do you have? Right. A lot of times they're developing something new, or it just came out, but they forget to tell their current clients. They're so focused on that. So definitely, be very proactive. Talk to your suppliers, ask them, what else they're ordering. So Karen says she enjoyed the summit for learning and motivation. Okay, and Karen is selling on Amazon. Excellent. Okay, so I'm trying to learn much all at once. I need to focus, but there's so much to learn. It is difficult, right? So, I mean, with the summit, it was a lot of information. We had about 23 sessions plus the kickoff and the closing. It was a lot of information, and I feel like my recommendation to you, Karen, is to look at your business right now, and then where exactly, what is the next step that you need to take. So for you, it sounds like you've placed your order, right? So I don't know if have you arranged shipping yet? Are you going to ship by air or by sea, right? I mean, with the freight forwarding, that would be the next step. And then after that would be the pre-shipment inspection, right? Do you have a third-party inspection agency, for example, an Asia inspection, that can help you be the eyes and ears for you to inspect your order, right? And then after that, launching your product, right? I think with the product launch, I don't know if you've already created your product listing already, but in terms of launching, Chris Rawlings from Judo Launch, his session was highly informative about the fundamentals of a good product launch. I would take a look at that session again if you haven't seen it yet, because Chris Rawlings, he himself, and through Judo, he's launched over 1,000 products. So he's seen the whole spectrum of what people are doing right, what people are doing wrong, what's working, what's not working. So I would recommend Karen, and if anyone else is looking to launch, to check out that session. That would be useful for you, in my opinion. Okay. All right. And then Donna earlier was talking about business strategy and mindset. What specifically with business strategy and mindset are you looking for help with? Because that can be very broad. I mean, strategy could be, it could be growth, right? It could be scaling your business, or it could be profitability, right? It could be, cutting your expenses, right? I think strategy definitely, that's a very broad issue, and then that's something that we can talk more about. And Karen says that she's paid her deposit. The supplier has arranged the freight. It will be air freight extra. It is 3 times kits if 50 products. Okay, great. So for Donna, for me, it's how to scale profitably with an exit in mind. Okay, great. So Karen, you're shipping by air, and then okay, it sounds like you have that pretty planned out. Chris Rawlings was very good. All right. So I would look at the product launch, and I would look at what are some what are some other products that you were look to sell in addition to that from your current suppliers. And Donna, yeah, for me, it's how to scale profitably with an exit in mind. Definitely. Yeah, this is something that I feel that 2 of the sessions were very good for this. 3 sessions, actually. One was Sophie Howard, how she really just really set up her business so that it was like a smooth handover. And especially, like even with the VA that she had, right? Like, training her VA, having the systems and working procedures in place. I feel that that was a best practice that really helped with the sale. And then obviously with all of the numbers and the bookkeeping and the accounting, just keeping very good records of all of the, the profits, the P&L, and ultimately, demonstrating like the profitability. That's the main factor for valuation. And then also, if you had the chance to check out David Bryant, his session, he's another 7-figure seller that has sold his business for nearly 7 figures, and then he's quickly scaling up his second business. And then he's more of a finance background person. And then he really broke down how to increase the valuability of his business. I remember one example he gave was that rather than renting an office, he cut that expense, and then I think it was like $3,000 rent per year, multiplied by 12, that's about 36,000. And then by cutting that expense off of the P&L, when he sold that business, it instantly amounted to 3 times that in terms of profitability. So he was able to sell his business for an additional $90,000. I mean, just cutting out that one expense. So if you haven't checked out that session, David Bryant, that was a really good session about what he did to increase his valuation. And then one other session that I found was helpful for selling a business was from Mr. X. This person works for a private equity firm, and then he has a lot of experiences with acquisitions and sales, and specifically in e-commerce. And then he dropped a lot of value when it comes to what buyers are looking for. And I think one of the main takeaways for me was that it's not only just profitability, but how much more room for improvement can the buyer bring in. In other words, how much potential is there in this business? Has the seller already maxed it, or maybe there's still some gaps, some room for improvement? Maybe the seller wasn't great in maybe logistics, right? They were constantly out of stock, and the buyer could bring in their expertise in supply chain management, and then not go out of stock and be able to increase sales and increase profitability that way. So Mr. X's session was really interesting, purely from that financial perspective as well. So I think those 3 sessions were very useful. that would be useful for Donna. But I'm curious, Donna, what are you doing so far to scale profitably with an exit in mind? I mean, after viewing these sessions, like what are your next steps? What are you doing to scale profitably? And then one thing that I find that is like a big win for a lot of people is when they hire their first team member, whether it's a virtual assistant or a contractor, maybe for like graphics editing or photography, because I know a lot of you there, you may be like a solopreneur, like a one man or a one woman show. And a lot of times the biggest bottleneck is kind of yourself. I mean, even though you feel like you can do everything, and if I train someone, in that time I could just do it myself, right? I mean, like everyone thinks that, but it reminds me of that book by Michael Gerber, The E-Myth Revisited. It's an entrepreneurial classic, and then he literally says that you should build your business with the idea of selling it someday. So everything should be documented in terms of having standard operating procedures, systems, and then this is something that I do with my business just to share with you guys. I find that I use Google Docs, and then I have working procedures for how to create a shipment in Amazon, right? How to add backend search terms into Seller Central, right? Like every one of these processes, I've taken the time to sit down and document, because when I do want to sell the business, I could literally hand over this this system, like this set of working procedures, and then they could just it's literally it's turnkey, right? I mean, if you have something like that, that's an excellent way not only to unchain yourself from your business, so that I don't have to create that shipment. I don't have to manually add the backend keywords. I can delegate to my team member or my virtual assistant. So in terms of freeing up my time, I try to work on higher value tasks. So it could be, sourcing new products. It could be negotiating better prices with my supplier, because over time, that would save me a lot of money. It could be, developing, my Shopify store, or it could be, learning Facebook messaging, right? Like investing in more higher value task for your business. I find that that's one of the best ways to scale your business. But if you don't have like a team, then you literally like it's very difficult to find the time to do something like that, right? So I find that for me personally, that's one of the most effective ways that I've scaled my business. So I have a small team. I have a couple of virtual assistants, based in the Philippines, and then I also have some contractors, based in Serbia, and based in other parts of the world as well. And then I feel that they're part of my team. I don't feel like they're just someone that I just asked to do something. Like I literally I feel that we're working together for the same goal. Even though we're not face to face, we set up time to have like a stand-up meeting, just to find out not only about the business, what we're working on, what challenges we have, but also maybe like how their family is doing, right? Like maybe they just had a baby, or maybe they're dealing with some issues at home, right? Like maybe I can help out that way. I find that ultimately developing that team, that really helps you scale your business to the next level. And then Donna says that she wants to grow quickly, but the profit first method keeps her grounded. So really, she just needs to be patient and let it grow organically while doing everything I can optimize along the way. That's great. That's great. I hope that Donna, I hope that you can share with us how Profit First is working for you as well. I mean, this is something that I'm looking to develop. I could improve with my business as well in terms of just profitability and keeping all the numbers organized. And possibly that could be like a future session or something that we can talk more about. Okay, excellent. So what else, guys? What are some other pressing issues that you're dealing with right now in your business? It could be something that we covered, or it could be something else that we haven't covered. I'm just curious. I wanted to, let this be about you guys. I really want to, help everyone succeed. Because I feel like, we need that community of like-minded entrepreneurs to help each other out, and at the same time, to be honest, this is something new to me. Just like doing these live, masterminds, doing these sessions. I'm still trying to figure out what is the best way to do this. Maybe it could, we should keep it in this format, or maybe we could keep, we could do like a call where we can, like a video call, if it's feasible, right? I mean, I think that we can get more interaction this way. So I really wanted to get your feedback as well. So Karen asks, do you use the 12-week year model? I have not. Can you tell us more about that, Karen? The 12-week year model. So yeah. And then, yeah. And then with, other than that, with the 7-Figure Seller Summit, if you feel that this was helpful, I may do a 2019 version early next year, if that is something that's interesting to you guys. I don't know. Is that something that's interesting to you guys? Or if it is, can you say yes in the chat window just to help motivate me? And because it was, like, to be honest, it did take a lot of time to find these 7-figure sellers, because I was talking to some other people in the e-commerce space, and then they said, oh, these people, they don't want to come out, they're like in their own communities. They said, oh no, that can't be done, but I was kind of, I was determined, because I feel like, this is something that I want to do to scale my business. And I feel like there's a lot of very smart people out there, and I feel like some of them, they do want to help. So that was kind of my motivation behind it. But it did take a lot of time. Like, to be honest, I was a little burnt out last couple of weeks. So I do apologize if I was behind in like the support emails. Fortunately, we have a good small team, but I'm just trying to, like, for my own mindset as well. One of the things that, I took away from the summit was, I noticed a lot of people, like, they're very successful, they work hard, but they kind of need that time to recharge as well, to kind of like get away from the business. Like, I remember, Greg Mercer said that he would go on retreats, right? Like, he would take like a weekend retreat, whether with his wife or with his team, maybe, get away from the office and just like, just kind of disconnect from all of the day-to-day. And then that's like the time that your brain can really, refresh itself. And then that's the time that you come up with really good ideas. And then, I mean, I find that this is a common thread, not just in the business world, but also in politics. If you look at, like Abraham Lincoln, for example, like, he was like super stressed out, obviously, because he had the Civil War that he was managing, right, in the US. For those of you guys that are history buffs, like Abraham Lincoln, one of the most successful US presidents. But at the same time, like, he literally would go to the theater, back in the day, like, they probably didn't have the movies like cinemas, but he would literally go to the theater very often to kind of like get his mind away from anxiety, from stress, from work, etc. So that, he wouldn't get burnt out. So, that's one thing that I took away as well, like from the mindset aspect, just being able to get away from, the day-to-day. And, but it is challenging because, like, at least for me, I don't know, like, if you guys live in a big city or like a more rural place, but for me, living in Shanghai, there's 23 to 25 million people here. So literally, when I try to get away, I can't, it's not easy to go to the beach. I can't really go on a hike to the mountains because I just see people everywhere. So, I mean, that is a challenge for me, in terms of looking for a retreat. So I don't know if you guys, like, if anyone else has any recommendations, what they do, in terms of, just getting away from anxiety and stress of their day-to-day business. But, that's something that I'm working on to improve as well. I mean, it could be as simple as just like taking a walk, going like in the park, right? I remember reading that in Japan, like people, there's like a word for like bathing in the forest. I mean, they're not literally taking a bath in the forest, but just like walking in like a nature, natural surrounding with trees and birds, that helps to kind of like reground you, right? Because I feel like, for people, we're not like supposed to sit in front of a laptop or a computer 24/7. But just going back to nature, I feel like that kind of like resets your mindset and it helps to ground you. So when you get back to work, you're refreshed and you're not struggling as much. Yeah, forest bathing and daily meditation as well. Yeah, Donna. Okay. And then Greg says that, okay, you just liquidated my existing 4-year-old brand due to very poor sales, electronics niche. So I'm starting over. Finding new niche, new products is difficult. Product selection training. Okay. So Greg is looking for a new niche and new products. And it is more challenging now than before, just because there's a lot more competitors. But I do find that there are still really good products, but you really have to look deep in the niches. So what I do is I like to look for products away from like the popular tools. I mean, like for example, Jungle Scout. I use Jungle Scout all the time. I mean, it's a very useful tool, but I don't necessarily use it for product selection, because I find that if you start at the same place as everybody else, you end up at the same place as everybody else, right? And then that could lead to like a price war, and then that's not good for anyone. So I created a course that does help with product selection, sourcing, and launching your products. And we have a way, like 11 ways to find profitable products away from the Jungle Scout crowd. That's one of the sessions in that course. So Greg, that might be something that's interesting to you. And then I can share the URL with you if you're interested in that, in terms of product selection. Just 1 second. Definitely, product selection, that's super important. Many of the 7-figure sellers said that, they spend 80% of their time on product development and product selection. So if you choose the wrong products, like I've done this before, like very underperforming products, it can be, a very frustrating experience. But I mean, the good thing is, Greg, I'm glad to hear that you just liquidated, right? You liquidated your existing 4-year-old brand. So that's good that you can have what it sounds like a fresh start, right? So yeah, I would recommend you take a look at that link that I pasted in the chat window. It's at 8020sourcing.com. And then if you look at my site on the top, there's a link called courses, and you can take a look at that. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, offline as well. Okay. So yeah, Karen says, come to New Zealand, less than 5 million people here, rivers, lakes, mountains. I really want to visit again. We had a great trip a couple years ago. We went to Wanaka, like the lake there was amazing. And then we also went to the glacier. It's beautiful, and just like driving around the country, it's just awesome. I hope to have a chance to visit again. A little bit pricey, but I mean, definitely it is a great place to visit. And if you guys ever have a chance to come to Shanghai, please let me know. I'd love to meet up for coffee, or just meet up in person. That would be excellent. Yeah. And see all year round. Yeah, see all around. Yeah, that's something that I miss. I miss the beach and the sea. Yeah. So well, our time is running short. Is there anything else that we should cover, guys, that we haven't covered today? If you can please type in the chat window. And I just wanted to thank everybody for their time. Hopefully this was helpful to you guys. And I'm going to be more involved in the Facebook group going forward. And also my team member, Josephine, she's helping to moderate as well. So if you have any questions there, and again, I do apologize. I haven't been as great with following up just because I just had a lot of stuff in the past couple of weeks, but I'm going to be more involved. So hopefully this can help you. And so, yeah, thank you guys for coming. And thank you, Karen. Thank you, Donna. Thank you, Greg. And thank you, everybody else that was on the line today. And yeah, I just going forward, have a great fourth quarter. And whether you're, launching your first product or scaling your business, I feel that there's so many moving parts to this. Just try to focus on the next step, right? Just focus on that, and just, every day, just take that one step forward. That way you'll be on your way to scaling your business to 7 figures. And maybe even I can feature you next time on the summit. All right. So with that, thank you everybody for coming. Enjoyed having you guys, and we'll talk soon. All right. Bye everyone.